Hi, this is reading instruction at Truman Elementary, the case study that we did for AEP 858. This is Erica Keller. So what I already know from the data is that students aren't performing where they need to be, and that's based on the state and national assessments that they take. Students aren't being instructed at their reading level. They are doing the same thing using a basal instead of having leveled text and meeting their needs. Students aren't growing from grade level to grade level. Their scores are actually going down. Teachers are using a basal for reading instruction. It's generally about an hour a day, and that students are introduced to a story, and it's either read chorally or popcorn read, which is not necessarily what we want our students to be doing. And they're listening to the teacher, and then they're doing a workbook page. We also know that current data says that students need to have I'll call it balanced literacy throughout a reading program that contains word level, which is phonics and phonemic awareness, which would help with the spelling concerns that parents have, and actually using that sounded out strategy, reading comprehension strategies, so understanding main idea detail and such, and an integration of reading and writing together. And students need to be reading books at their level, but being exposed to more challenging text either through read alouds or also at their instructional level. And observations of the classroom were done by myself and also the district reading supervisor. So what I still need to know is, what do teachers know about balanced literacy? And how are the kids performing in class? Because right now the data that was shared and that was concerned by PTO is just the state assessments and not what is happening in class. And we need to see what programs are out there right now to help guide teachers in balanced literacy. So here are the problems I see right now. Students aren't becoming proficient readers. You read in everything: science, social studies, math. So reading is really that core foundational piece that can be used in everything. Instruction is not being personalized, and so kids are reading either way above their level or way below, which is not helping them build foundational pieces or expand on what they already know. And the teachers lack the understanding of the current industry improvements. Depending on how long they've been teaching or where they went to school, it might not have been taught. And reading truly is a pendulum. And so, when you're in school, as a teacher, you're taught one thing and then it might change. And so if your school is still using previous resources, or if you are not following industry trends, you might not understand that this is what data and has shown is good for readers. And Truman Elementary lacks a program that provides elements for a balanced literacy approach. So that balanced literacy, when I talk about that, is when I say phonics, vocabulary, comprehension, and reading and writing together. So the plan of action is to have teachers analyze data within their grade levels to see where the gaps are. So looking actually more, instead of just scores, but how is it broken down? Is it comprehension? Is it not being able to read the words? Is it spelling? Is it writing? See where some of those gaps are, so we're not completely reinventing the wheel if there is something that is working. Begin professional development on balanced literacy. No matter what we have, what resources, and there's a lot of other resources out there that we could use. Readworks.org is free for teachers. Things like that our learning library that has leveled books. And so using that, whether it be letters training or using Edutopia videos to see teachers in action, but begin our professional development on balanced literacy and what strategies and steps you should take. Looking at our current resource to see how we can use it to promote proficiency. Look for a resource that would help teachers and students. Once we find a program, we need to do development on that program specifically. So using the base knowledge that we started already and then putting it into action with the new program. And then this is not overnight, so we need to continue to analyze the data as a new program, as the new program is. And do we need to add something, take something away? Do we need to push something more? So the strategies to complete our goal is to be a team. We need to make sure that we're working all together and have trust within each other, because if we're our greatest resources. So looking at what teachers already know, and if there's a teacher who's doing something that's awesome, having small groups, teaching to a student's level, we need to make sure that we are utilizing them. And we want to make sure that there's that trust there so that other teachers feel that they can go to them and also use them. We need to use the resources we already have in a different way. We need to look at all the data to analyze it, the effectiveness. So not just state, but classroom data, running records, things like that. Using technology to help personalize learning, because those kids who are behind or below, in the state of Kansas, we have iStation is free for teachers. So how can we use iStation that does personalize based on what they do at the beginning of every month, and it's always changing and adapting to what the students need, as well as Front Row and those programs that are available to teachers that would really help personalize some of it. Of course, continue to reflect on our teaching. What works, what doesn't work, what can we change, what do we like? And then we need to find teams that will help pilot the program and be able to compare programs so that we aren't just jumping into this blindly. So overall, we need to make sure what is best for students. So the student has to come first. No student is the same, and so no program should be just one size fits all. We need to make sure that we have differentiation within the program so that we can meet the needs for all of our learners. We also want to make reading fun. We also want to make sure that there's a scope and sequence that helps build starting at kindergarten or pre-K and working up towards to help kids keep building, and they're not doing the same thing over and over again. We need to have kids have ownership and engagement, so maybe not just worksheets, but having projects based on their reading and such. We also want to make sure that with this program, looking at balanced literacy and getting a new program through hopefully the grant, ESL students would have a resource to meet their needs. Most now provide an ESL component to it. But even if it doesn't, using strategies to help visual, building that vocabulary, and meeting kids at their level is going to help ESL students, which we have 5% at our school. So, it is a growing population. Also, students with learning disabilities will be taught at their level. So now they won't feel behind, they won't shut down. And then that way, not only if they're pulled out, but when they're in the classroom, they're still getting their needs met. Students who are higher achieving can work at their level and they can build from their base knowledge so they can expand so they're not as bored. And all students will get what they need. So as I reflect on this plan, how do I feel? I want all students to succeed, and it's really sad looking at the data that they aren't. I also want to make sure that teachers feel valued, and I think that changing things up, that it can be worrisome because you don't want teachers to feel like what they've done is wrong. It's just that times are changing and students are changing, and we need to change with them. I also want to make sure that there's input from multiple sources, parents, teachers, students, as we look at these things and make sure that we're doing what is best for everyone and that it's not just me making a decision because I'm not in the classroom teaching it. It's I'm analyzing the data or helping and I'm facilitating, but it needs to be work for the teachers and the students. But I do feel really inspired and energized because there's so many new possibilities, seeing that growth, seeing that change, seeing teachers take ownership because now they're not just using a basal, but they have a little bit more maybe creativity or something different that they haven't used. And that excites me. So some of the things that I'm, concerned about or would still need to work on is getting everyone on board. Because you have teachers who have been working for a long time, and you want to make sure that they understand that what they do is great, but we just need to make sure that we put our students first, and that we need to change things up because how you taught and the kids you taught 10 years ago aren't the kids that we have now. Um, if we don't get this grant, then we probably wouldn't get a new program. But we want to make sure, even without a new program, we still have to change what we do. So, making sure that they have the foundational pieces and it's not all based on how to do one sort of program, but how to do it no matter where you are. So unfortunately, if teachers leave, which we don't want them to, but if they have to move or whatever, that they have those foundational pieces. So if they don't have the same program, they still know what balanced literacy is. How to use resources that we have, and looking into that, and then continuing professional development and making sure that new teachers don't feel we don't just throw them in. So working together, we want to make sure to continue to meet with the PTO and the families. We want to make sure that they know that spelling is happening. It just looks different in every classroom, and that with this new approach, we would be able to work on spelling, and that also phonics is a priority and will be a priority because it is the basics. And so those articles that were read are true, that phonics will help students with spelling, writing, reading all together. So I value that input. We want to make sure we have observations from multiple sources. So it's not just me, but parents can come in and watch a teacher, or teachers can go see other teachers and make sure and see how they're doing, what they're doing. But also, it's not just me; it's the reading specialist. It's the students. That we want to have a focus on personalized learning and make sure that we're meeting the kids where they're at. And then we also want to continue to analyze the data and be open and honest with one another. If we see something that, we found something and we want to share it, or also, hey, have you tried this before? So that we can help one another. So keeping it all in line and making sure that we're meeting regulations, this would help with IEPs because now kids are also, they would get their minutes obviously that they need, but they're getting second, third doses within the classroom. ESL is going to also, since they don't have a specific program, they're still going to get help, even though they're identified, but they're not going to be in a specific ESL school. And then also making sure that we work with what we already have, because obviously there's not an unlimited budget. So just making sure that we have that, that we're using what we have and we're not just throwing the baby out with the bathwater. So to work together, I want to meet with other principals and administrators for guidance on what works. What are they doing at their schools? Because right now we are lower, and so there's obviously something happening in another school, and I want to know. Make sure the students come first, and we want to find a program that works for all the students, and hopefully district-wide to allow for collaboration to come work together to create a solution, and make all the students in our district better, not just Truman Elementary. So thank you.